Hi again, Justin here, and thank you for joining me for the third video of our series, Learning How, Planning for Productive Skills. Now, in our previous video, we talked about the importance of learning for skills rather than learning in a style that's more suited for just learning information. And today we're going to continue that exploration by talking about how we can begin to think about the process of learning a skill. So to help me out with this process, I'd like to introduce a couple of people. Josh Kurtzwell and Mary Scholl are two SIT trainers who do a lot of work worldwide with SIT programs and are very well thought of in English teaching in general. And in 2005, for McGraw-Hill, Josh and Mary published the book, Understanding Learning Through Teaching. Now, in this book, they introduced the idea that for a skill to really be learned, there are 5 things that have to happen. And they called these 5 things ECRIF. ECRIF is an acronym describing the learning process, and this is what it looks like. First, learners encounter what it is they're going to learn. And then they clarify any questions or concerns or doubts they have about it. They then practice it until they're able to remember it, and continue practicing it until it's deeply internalized so that they are able to recall it easily and effortlessly. And finally, they get to the point where they're able to fluently use the new learning. Let's look at that in a little more detail. So in the first stage, encounter or ENCONTRAR, the first thing that has to happen is obviously that learners have to have their first meeting with what it is they're going to learn. El primer encuentro con lo que van a aprender. And then they clarify whatever doubts or confusions or questions they may have about this new concept or idea or skill that they're dealing with. And then they start practicing until they're able to remember it, that they develop their ability to recall what it is that they're learning. Then they continue practicing, gradually increasing the ease with which they're able to recall it and gradually learning the ability to use it more independently. And then finally, after so much practice, learners are able to independently and freely, or we could say fluently, use the new learning. So that is the stages of ECRIF that were identified by Josh and Mary as things that have to happen for a skill to be learned. Now, in this workshop, we're really going to put some parts of it together that we talk about encounter and clarify together, because when you first meet a new something is obviously the best time to clarify any doubts you have about it. We're also going to put remember and internalize together, because remember and internalize are the stages where learners practice what they're doing. And of course, practice is a major important part of the learning process. And then finally, after so much practice, they will be able to fluently use what it is they have learned. So this is how we divided the ECRIF stages into a very convenient triangle. Now you will notice that when Adeline and I do this, we actually do it this way. That first we encounter and clarify, then we remember and internalize, and remember and internalize, and remember and internalize, and finally are able to fluently use what it is that has been learned. So this is the ECRIF outline for dealing with and thinking about learning. I would love to see your questions and your thoughts about how this may influence teaching in the discussion forum below. And thank you again for joining me.